subscribe to any other YouTube channel, but you chose to subscribe here. So, hit that notification, hit that like button, and tune in with Adrian and Glib Talk. If you talking to hear your own voice, that's Glib. Using your platform to poop and pimp, that's Glib. I can sell drinking water to a fish with Glib. Tune in for a discussion with Glib. It's Glib Talk, Glib Talk, Glib Talk. 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 Let's all get right on the late night with a little discussion or a heated debate on sports, news, current events. Glib Talk is where you gotta tune in for facts and different opinions. This is Glib Talk, hosted by Adrian, who dissects the dichotomy of the fake news by its views. Trying to get to the truth, or we could just shoot the shit. We all trolls and his, that's why the chat stay lit. In the live stream when everyone clowns, let off a little steam. So go ahead and smash the like button. You can subscribe to the page, turn on the notification for the live stream, and upload updates. If you talking to hear your own voice, that's Glib.
Mic check, mic check.
That's Glib. I can sell drinking water to a fish with Glib. Tune in for a discussion with Glib. It's Glib Talk, Glib Talk, Glib Talk. It's Glib Talk, Glib Talk.
What's going on? What's going on, good people? Thank you for clicking on the play button. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for clicking on the play button. My name is Adrian. This is Glib Talk. What's going on, D? I haven't seen you in a minute. I appreciate you coming over this morning. This Republican Congressman Byron Donalds. I want to keep calling him Aaron Donalds, but he's not that great. Byron Donalds from Florida. Thank you for clicking on the play button. I appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button and share. If you like this video, please share it. I think this is an interesting thought for me. I think you might like it. So I was reading this article yesterday on Politico where this Republican congressman named Byron Donalds, who, if you don't know, he is a Donald Trump surrogate. He's a Donald Trump surrogate, and his intent is to convince black people that the conservatives and the Republican Party is the better place to be. He would like to become the vice president of the United States for supporting Donald Trump. And he does whatever he can, including wearing his long-ass, stupid-ass tie, in order to promote this, to promote himself and to promote Donald Trump. Nothing wrong with any of those things. I disagree with all their policies. I disagree with almost everything this man says, and I disagree with him here as well. But he made a statement that I've argued with Black Rosebud about, and I wanted to just think a little further into why is it that black conservatives say things like this. He says here, and this is in quotes, during the Jim Crow, the black family was together, Donald said during a black GOP outreach event in gentrifying part of Philadelphia on Tuesday, and criticized decades-old policies from former President Dwight Eisenhower and Lyndon Johnson for promoting a culture of dependence. During Jim Crow, more black people were not just conservative, but because black people have always been conservative minded, but more black people voted conservatively. Well, there's a problem with that statement in that during Jim Crow laws, blacks were prevented from voting. And one of the items and one of the changes that came about was that the federal government ensured our right to vote. The federal government ensured that the right to vote could not be blocked based on race, right? The Voting Rights Act of 1965 prohibited racial discrimination in voting, eliminating barriers such as literacy tests and poll taxes. So when this guy says, "Oh, it was better," he's trying to say, take away all of the bad. that ever happened, and let's ignore it, and then let's take our times today and put them in yesterday and compare it. But you can't take just the good. You can't take just the. I'm not going to argue that the black family was or was not more together during the Jim Crow era. I'm not gonna debate that, right? Because they don't have a metric that they're using to measure. They just say it was better. We were more together. They don't base it on anything. They don't have anything to compare it to. So I'm forced to compare it to what I think made the black family better in Jim Crow and today. And that's why I'm making this video now, because I woke up this morning. I was thinking of this yesterday, and I wanted to go live, and I started putting some stuff together, and then I changed my mind. I said, nah. Then I woke up this morning, and for whatever reason, the J. Cole song "Love Yours" like just popped into my head. Like I woke up this morning, and the song "Love Yours" was on. And if you don't know the song "Love Yours," he has the song "Love Yours." I'm not gonna play it, but one of the lyrics in the song is, "There's no such thing as a life that's better than yours." And he talks about how, just because you have stuff, just because you have wealth, just because you have success, doesn't mean you have love, doesn't mean you have family. And as I was thinking about the lyrics to the song, I started thinking, maybe this is what they're talking about. Maybe what they're saying is, yes, we went through this struggle. We went through this struggle, and coming out of the struggle, we gained. We gained political power. We gained economic power. We gained access to schools. We gained a growing black middle class. We gained a wealth class of black people in America now. But what did we lose? In exchange for the material gain, we lost the sense of self that was the black community when we were forced to be together. And in that regard, I can kind of understand what they're talking about, but I still disagree. What's up, Jola? Thank you for clicking on the play button, Jola. Greatly appreciate it. It's like, even though I understand what they're trying to say, I still disagree. If somebody said, we're going to dig a big ass hole, we're going to dig a big ass hole, and we're going to put you and everyone in your family in that fucking hole and you can't get out, but you're together, we'll drop food down there periodically, and we'll give you water when we feel like it. But other than that, you guys are in the hole, and and you guys can bury each other while you're down there. Stay down there. I would probably wish and hope every day that I can get the fuck out of that hole. I wouldn't want nothing more but to get out of that hole. And these black conservatives are trying to convince non-black conservatives, because black conservatives agree with this idea that because the federal government, the local government, the Democrats, the liberals have offered a way for some blacks to get out of the hole that they're in, that's the problem, because they should have stayed in a hole because they were at least all together in the hole. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. I look at my personal life. I look at my personal life and I say, I was raised in a 2-parent household. My parents were married. My grandparents were married. But I was still on welfare. My family was on Section 8. My mother received food stamps. But our family was together. What's up, Miss Tawana? Now, this is probably based more on personal decisions and morals that my family had, that they chose to be married, It didn't change the economic circumstance of my mother and father. My mother and father did not graduate high school. So I was raised by two people in the 70s, neither of which had a high school diploma, and worked menial labor jobs to care for the family, which wasn't enough. And they were provided with social services to bridge the gap. And the bridging of that gap allowed us to be fed, to be clothed, to be housed, even though my father was in the house. So I don't understand the argument of The welfare system took the father out the home. The welfare system took the father out of the home of families that didn't have fathers. There wasn't a father. There wasn't a marriage there. There wasn't two people who decided to be a union because you could agree to be together. You could agree to be apart. If you agreed to be apart, then you were apart. So I don't understand their argument. My circumstance was different. So I would say I appreciate when we were down in that hole that there was lifelines for us to get out because it afforded me the ability to become more educated so that I can improve my circumstance, so that I can provide a better opportunity for my children. There's no question whether my daughter graduated from high school yesterday and everyone's crying and happy and stuff. And I'm like, this is what's supposed to happen. Like, I'm happy that she graduated, but this is what's supposed to happen. There's no doubt in my mind that my daughter should graduate high school. She's afforded every opportunity to do it. I feel like my daughter supposed to graduate college. It's what's supposed to happen. Not because I'm wealthy. I'm not. Not because I've had some type of leg up or opportunity that anyone else didn't get. But I can tell you that if the government had left us to our own devices and said, you guys figure it out, I'd probably still be down in that fucking hole that I was in when I started. I appreciate that there are social welfare programs in America that are designed to help people alleviate their immediate circumstances that are there so that way they can continue to work to improve themselves to get better. It's hard to work when you're hungry. It's hard to work when you're homeless. It's hard to educate yourself and make for a better life when you're suffering from all of these economic circumstances. And whether that is or is not because the black father was in the home, it changes from person to person because there's nothing that made any black person, any black male, be more or less responsible for their fucking children. But in their idea, the only reason why black men stopped taking care of their children is because the government started. Black men stopped taking care of their kids in the 60s because the government started. And that doesn't make any sense to me because if those people had the means to take care of their children, they would have been doing it. And with the poverty rate so high in America for black people back then, that was the reason why they started doing it, or they increased the frequency of it happening. Was it a political move? Yes, it was a political move. But to just say the only reason why there's any problems in the black community is because they gave black women Section 8 and welfare and food stamps and kicked the black man out the home. The black man wasn't kicked out of the home. His ass walked out the door if he was ever there in the first place. He walked out the door if he was ever there in the first place. I've had this argument with Black Rosebud a lot. And I really had to think about like what my position was. Like why does this frustrate me so much? And then I realized it's not just me, right? Everyone who hears this sentence forms the same opinion. Even though they're trying to say, oh, we're not saying that it was better for blacks. We're saying it was better for the black community and the family as a whole. Well, Hakeem Jeffries heard the same comments, and he had a response that was very similar to my response.
Speaker, has come to my attention that a so-called leader has made the factually inaccurate statement that blacks were better off during Jim Crow. That's an outlandish, outrageous, and out-of-pocket observation. We were not better off when a young boy named Emmett Till could be brutally murdered without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when black women could be sexually assaulted without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when people could be systematically lynched without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when children could be denied a high-quality education without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when people could be denied the right to vote without consequence because of Jim Crow. How dare you make such an ignorant observation? You better check yourself before you wreck yourself.
So look, right? I like Hakeem Jeffries. But J. Cole has a line in the Love Your song where he says, I think being broke was better. I think being broke was better. And maybe this is the idea of Aaron Donalds and Black Rosebud and other black conservatives. I think being in that broken system was better. It was. Now, I don't believe they believe this for true. I believe they believe that for you. It was because Aaron Donalds makes money, and he probably believes he would have made money then and now. Black Rosebud believes he'd be making money then and now. The only thing stopping him now is the Democrats. But for you, it wouldn't be that bad if you was stuck in that fucking hole. It wouldn't be so bad for you if you were stuck down in that hole, because you'd be together. So it's not, to me, it's an asinine statement. Maybe because I figured out how to overcome the early obstacles of my life. And not that there's not more obstacles, and not that my life isn't difficult. It's difficult as hell. But I've been able to overcome that beginning of where is food going to come from? Where are we going to live? Do we have clothes for these children? Like I've overcome those are not things that are my concerns at this point. Now I'm moving on to other bigger problems, other bigger things that I need to overcome in my personal life. But when these conservatives try to say that the only problem, and if we could have just stopped this one thing from happening, which was the lifeline that was extended. The lifeline that was extended to help people overcome the minimals of what's needed to sustain life and to have, I guess, some type of regulation and consistency. If we didn't have that, then we would have all stayed together and it would have been great, even though we were enduring everything that Hakeem Jeffries said we were enduring. The people of that time weren't marching for nothing. They weren't enduring what they were enduring during the civil rights movement for nothing. They were fighting because they did not want to live in that way anymore in America. They did not want second-class citizen status in America anymore. I watched a clip this morning. It was of a woman who was raised in the 50s talking about Jim Crow, talking about riding a bus, talking about how her family, her mother, it was her mother, her grandmother, endured, right? They walked, they did the bus boycott, all of these things, right? And when the laws were changed and they could ride on the bus, she chose to ride in the back of the bus. And she asked her mother, why do we do all this? Why do we do all this if after we went through all that pain, you're just going to ride in the back of the bus? And she says, it's not about where I rode in the bus. It's about riding on the bus where I want to. And I think that's to be understood by these black conservatives who have chosen to know their place, who have chosen to accept their position under the foot and under the thumb of Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump is a great a fundraiser. And if you can attach yourself to him, you can attach yourself to a lot of people that want to separate themselves from their cash. But you can't convince me. You're going to have a hard time convincing me that Jim Crow was better, that living in those circumstances in those times was better. You're going to have to come with something more, some more metrics that explain how it was better, because I watched people get dogs attacked on them, beat with sticks and staffs, hoses. One picture, there's a fucking guy with an American flag stabbing a black guy. You can't convince me those people that are enduring that because it was fucking better. Now, they might look back at it and say, you know what? We didn't expect all of the byproducts of it. No one could have anticipated the crack era of the 80s and the 90s. No one could have anticipated that the federal government would decide that they were going to turn federal, state and federal prisons into money-making machines for the government. But that's what happened. That's what happened. And we, as people, as citizens, as black Americans, have to adapt and overcome to whatever the obstacles there are. So while we're moving forward from the obstacles of the past, we have to see what the new obstacles are and learn how to get over them as well. But to say that it was better back then is a fool's errand. And no conservative could get me to vote as a Republican in any kind of a way by standing in front of me and telling me that Jim Crow era was better. It would never happen. I'll never vote Republican as long as that's their positions. And I listen to these dumbasses talk, hoping that they have a different statement, but they all say the same thing. I'd never vote for Trump, and I never vote for a person who stands with or behind Trump. Make sure you're registered to vote. Make sure you're registered to vote in your county. Make sure you know your voting laws. Make sure you know where you're registered to vote, and make sure you participate in the process. People fought hard. People died. People gave up their freedom and their ability to earn and have a life because they wanted to ensure that others behind them could. So take advantage of that right and pay attention to what you're voting for and understand why you're voting for who you're voting for. I appreciate you clicking on the play button. If you haven't hit the like button, hit the like button, please. It would be greatly appreciated. And if you haven't registered to vote, register to vote. It's important. Register to vote. It is very important. All right, y'all. Thanks.
So, hit that notification, hit that like button, and tune in with Adrian and Glib Talk. If you talking to hear your own voice, that's Glib. Using your platform to poop and pimp, that's Glib. I can sell drinking water to a fish with Glib. Tune in for a discussion with Glib. It's Glib Talk, Glib Talk, Glib Talk. It's Glib Talk, Glib Talk, Glib Talk. It's Glib Talk, Glib Talk, Glib Talk. It's Glib Talk. Glib Talk, Glib Talk. Let's all get right on the late night with a little discussion or a heated debate on sports, news, current events. Glib Talk is where you gotta tune in for facts and different opinions. This is Glib Talk, hosted by Adrian, who will dissect the dichotomy of the fake news by its views. Trying to get to the truth, or we could just shoot the shit. We all trolls in his, that's why the chat stay lit. In the live stream where everyone clowns let off a little steam. So go ahead and smash the like button. You can subscribe to the page. Turn on the notification for the live stream and upload updates.